everyone, welcome to our podcast, UKUnMute, where we raise in the volume and the whispered conversations in our communities. And guys, it is our season finale! I can't believe we're here! And as usual, I am your host today. I'm Yolande. With me, as usual, the team, the A-team. And this is
Natasha,
Angela,
and Raquel.
Well done, guys. So, today we're going to reflect a bit on our journey. At the start of this, we talked about a journey that we hoped would have been empowering, inspiring, and all the things in the world. And we hope we've accomplished just that. So we're going to look back a bit, we're going to look forward a bit, and we're going to talk about some of our favorite times on the podcast. So I'm going to begin with the ladies, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Guys, just tell me what it was like. Just your own reflections to begin with. Raquel?
I think when we started, I didn't quite know what to expect. But overall, my reflection would be, it's been great to have fun doing hard work.
Yes. True. It's certainly been a learning curve. It's been interesting, but it's been fun along the way.
Yeah.
There's a great company and the sort of guests that we've had and the topics that we've dealt with.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been good.
I agree. It's been challenging. It's been fun, and it's been eye-opening. For sure. And I know that definitely, as much as you guys have enjoyed, well, I hope you've enjoyed some of the conversations that you've listened to or that you've watched. Trust me, there's just as many conversations that go on behind the scenes.
Robust discussions.
Yes. Yeah. And like most of you, us with the Zoom meetings and conversations, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. But but overall, it's been fun.
And I'm with the ladies. I think it's been fulfilling, rewarding. I mean, certainly for me, I have learned some things. I remember when we started, Natasha talked about she wanted to learn patience within the lockdown, and so I don't know if she's accomplished that. But for me, I've always said, for people who know me back in the good old days, that I suffered from not knowing the art of diplomacy. I think I know. Hey, stop that. The good thing is, listen, we're still friends, and that's the important thing for me. At the end of the day, we disagree to agree, and we love. We love honestly, and that's it. We're still here, and that's a great thing. Guys, you make me emotional.
You don't cry, you don't cry.
Right, so,
But one of the interesting things to me, though, has been this whole lockdown thing, and, you know, every time we try to do something, we have to think, oh, hang on, but can we do that? And are we allowed? And, you know, what about distancing? And all those little things that, under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have to think about it.
And bringing in our hand sanitizers and our wipes and measuring out 1 meter distance in between.
Well, so that was the practical side of doing things as opposed to. And so really, we're going to just recap the episodes that we've done. I'm going to rattle them off in my head because they're there somewhere, and kind of like just interject in terms of what some of those episodes might have meant for us, and if those were our favorite episodes and why. And so I remember we started with our introduction, who we are, and then
and
from
Zoom.
that I know. And then you see what happened is we actually had some bank episodes that we had recorded before we kind of got this wee space we have now. I'm hearing Northern Irish coming out there, wee space. So anyway, we then went to releasing our part 1 and part 2 of lessons from lockdown, and then there was what was happening within the community and the wider, world in terms of Black Lives issues. And so we then went on to Black Lives Matter, part 1, the Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter debate. And then between that, we kind of dashed in a bonus episode, which was South Africa.
That was such a powerful episode.
Yeah, it really was.
That was one that I couldn't make it for the recording on that one. So I remember watching the video, and I think just the ability to just kind of watch it and not having been part of it.
Yes.
It was so powerful, like
Yes.
the message, the stuff that was coming out of it, the pastor that we had from South Africa, plus the position here with Mary and all that.
Yes.
I thought that was such a powerful episode, and I hope that it was real, just really helpful.
To
Yes.
people as well,
We
yeah.
got a lot of powerful and positive feedback from that
From that
episode.
one,
So,
yeah. And that was, for those of you who probably kind of missed the title, that one was about celebrating Women's Month in the month of August with South Africa, solidarity with them in that, and looking at gender-based violence as a broader discourse. And so then we moved from that to kind of going back to our regular schedule where we had part 2 of Black Lives Matter, exploring solutions. So we had a guest, three guests. And to all our guests, guys, we're going to give you a big thank you. But the guests have been amazing.
Very much. Thank you very much.
And we couldn't have done it without them, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yes.
So following that Black Lives Matter, we sort of went and thought like, right, let's take a break, backwards,
Yeah.
ease off, breathe, get inspired.
Yes, something like
Yes, and then we did culture shock.
shock.
That was my favorite.
The behind the scenes of you understand when you go back and look at it.
Oh my goodness. We still
That was my favorite.
That was where the whole Northern Irish thing was at its best.
Yes.
Northern Irish community, we love you.
Yes.
And we please hope there was no offense taken in
No, because we've embraced it. We're part of it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And the guests on that, they were great as well. We had Natalia and Calanthea.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so then after that, we still kept it light and we moved on to dual culture, raising children within that dual context. And then we moved on to something a bit more heavy, but not heavy.
Dual culture, where I was laughing so hard till I cried. Was it that one?
No, it was culture shock.
Dual culture was the one with
Oh yes, sorry.
Yeah,
Culture
yes.
shock we did on our own.
Culture shock was just us,
I see
yes.
why I need these guys. And so
That was a long time ago.
And then, so keep it right here, ladies. After
Yes.
dual culture, we then kind of upped it a wee bit, not so light in terms of humor, but not heavy.
Yes.
And then we moved to an episode that was looking at empowerment.
Yes.
Was that?
I
Yes,
guess in
that
between
was
that
cool.
we did the introduction to
We did the introduction to Black History.
I was missing from that. That's why. Yes, so.
Yolanda was absent from that one. We did the introduction to Black History Month
Yes.
as it's celebrated in
Yeah.
Northern Ireland.
And just to
Absolutely.
kind of give you a peek, behind the scenes and sort of discussions that we have. This whole thing about, Yolanda was missing from that one, I was missing from one. We started off from a position of everybody's going to be there.
Yes,
All of us is always going to be there. And I have to say I was one of those people, always going to be there. And then it was like, well, okay, maybe we need to.
Well, maybe one person would be enough.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe two. But that's it, just two.
Yeah. So kind
But
of
I have to
evolved.
tell you, there's a little bit of feedback because I had somebody who watched it who said, was she alright?
I know, because
So that was the one where I had
Yes.
to go in between.
Yes,
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 yes.
emergency
Yes.
one.
that was Black Lives
That was
Matter,
Black
All
Lives
Lives Matter
Yes,
debate,
so-
and you
yes.
did
I
half of it.
remember
Yeah.
watching that and I thought people are probably going to think something, something really happened.
Hey, she's okay, guys.
She's fine. The emergency was minor. She's alright.
Yeah, and so after the introduction to Black History Month, I was back. And we're going to have a wee bit of talking about this She's Back business. Okay? Because we then did
Empowering the arts.
It was that same
it was the one, the All Lives, Black Lives Matter.
yes!
Where, guys, I have to say, if you haven't watched that,
That was
forgive us.
dramatic.
Please forgive us. Between Angela having to go and Natasha having to get up to take a cough and to have to come at the bottom,
And it wasn't COVID, it wasn't COVID
I'm
related.
telling you. No, that episode, forgive us.
Yeah.
And so we that's why we
Keeping
want
it
you,
real.
yeah. And that's why we want you guys to see our growth and where we started and where we're gonna probably Oprah Winfrey one day.
Yes. We thought there was going to be a cut so I could go and cough, but the conversation
We just
continued.
kept on talking through.
We just continued.
Mad editing skills though. Mad. Big up to Tassa, our home editor, homegrown that we then got, so we're now at the point where we did the empowerment. That was amazing.
Yes, those young
we had
ladies
those young people on, Faith Child, we had, you know, Dina in music, we had a poet. Yeah, so we had those girls within the arts.
Anesu,
Yes.
Yeah, and they were brilliant. That I have to say was my favorite episodes. To be honest, I kind of like have so many favorite episodes, but I have to give
is hard to
into
pick.
that one.
Yeah. There's been a few good ones.
Yeah.
That was
They're
my
all been
favorite.
good, but there are a few memorable
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah. And then we're winding down things. Once we done that, we kind of kept the music thing going, and then we had a discussion, beautiful, really light-hearted discussion with Jordan Adetunji in the context of his music career at Northern Ireland Music Awards, and then we are here.
Yes.
Grand finale, end of season
So
one.
a journey that began in February,
Yeah.
ideally, and took us down
Amazing.
to October.
Yeah.
It's
And
been
so,
wonderful.
ladies, I'm gonna put them on the spot here. Really, we talked about lessons learned. I mean, reflections general. But if you could take away any lesson itself that you learned, whether in terms of a podcast or general, was there anything in specific that you felt you learned?
Lots.
Well, lots. But one of the things that stands out to me is looking at the bigger picture and thinking of the greater good. Yes.
Self-sacrificial.
Well, not really. Sometimes you look at what's the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What do we
You're
want
right.
to do? What is our vision?
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to check your ego and be like, no,
Oh,
you know what? Yeah, let's do this for the sake of having this done. So that's something that I have learned.
That's my phrase behind the scenes. I run with the wolf pack.
Yeah.
And I've adopted her phrase.
That usually means I didn't get what I want. But I'll just go down.
Yes, that's the United Nations phrase.
I'm going to keep it real.
Around the world.
I'm keeping it real and say they are probably really right. I know that they do love me still. And so it's it's okay. Yeah. So, and Raquel, you were going to say something.
Well, there were so many lessons learned, and I think probably the overriding one would be that there are so many different ways to get things done.
Yes.
That we will face obstacles, which we did, and
And we turn them into
opportunities.
Yes,
That is
yeah,
what we're
yeah.
about, and we really have had to live that.
Yes.
Because things have been thrown at us that we just some of the editing dramas and tasks
Let's not mention the editing.
and just finding that we have to find a way to get a solution, and so we do.
Yes.
And I think that is just a reminder that there are solutions. There really are.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
We overcame technical obstacles. We're still overcoming some of those even as we speak. Let's
Yeah.
hope season 2 we would have sorted that out.
Yeah.
But it's been good as well, figuring out how to overcome the obstacles. And once you do, you actually feel better. Like, well, if we got through that, then we can get the next one.
Yeah, and it wasn't so bad after
Yes.
all. Angela?
Just in terms of the journey, and looking at the bigger picture, it started off with an idea and morphed into something that I think, probably wasn't even in the mind at the beginning. But for me, it just shows when you get a bunch of people who can come together and say, right, what is needed? What do we need to achieve? What is needed? And like I think Tassa said, sort of kind of putting aside your own personal agendas and say, what is for the greater good here? And really just, about the fact that if you can come together, work together, be humble in how you do it, there is actually not much that you can't do. And just set your mind on something. We talk about the issue of there was no table, wasn't invited to the table, so we built the table. And I just hope that when people just kind of look at our journey, for me anyway, what's really come out of that is, what can come out of something when you put your mind to it together with people that you can work together with, that you can just be humble with, that you could know when to stand, know when to, stand back and say, okay, I'll let it go, and just what you can kind of achieve as a result of that.
I'm smiling to myself as you're saying that, because I remember when Yolanda and I were having a conversation with Pastor Ndumi, so he was saying, oh yeah, I have my studio all set up, my lighting's perfect, my da-da-da, and we're like, oh. And he was asking us, can you not just this and can you not just that? And we're like, we're unfunded.
Yes.
But
yes.
we're gonna see.
And he said, okay. And we said, we'll find a way.
Yes.
And we did.
Yes.
But it was just that sense of there were so many things that could have made us feel as though you
It's
can't
not
do this.
possible.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
And not to cut you
No,
long,
go
but
ahead,
just to stick a pin in what Raquel said there about we are unfunded, but we're able to do certain things because there's certain people that we need to thank at the end.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely,
yes,
absolutely.
yes.
And you could lead me on that, keep my brain right. And just in terms of, for me, lessons learned quickly for me, it really would have been significantly about the networking within our community that we were able to tap into, because outside of ourselves, I felt like a lot of times we were able to tap into somebody, maybe names that we've mentioned on the podcast, maybe Joe or somebody, Joseph Ricketts from the African Caribbean Support Organization, and then Angela's whole circle of Place of Victory, and so there are community groups, and Davy Sims, people that we've met, James Reyes. So it was networking. Abby, so at the same time, whilst we want to thank these people, to me it was just a lesson of networking, because those people were there to pick us up, help us out very quickly, throw ideas. Yeah. There were some people who randomly reached out to us from the community. You guys should do this. You guys should talk about this. So it also shows that people are hungry for something that we bring. Yeah. So hey, answers.
And that's one thing that I was happy for, and I think Angela and Raquel both alluded to that as well, in terms of at the beginning of the journey when we did our introduction, and I think maybe it was me that mentioned not waiting for them to build the table, but we built the table. It was nice to invite people to the table that we built, to have them, to have them
especially
raise the volume on their issues.
And we'll be doing a lot more of that in season 2 as we talk about some of the upcoming episodes. So, and for us, I think we kind of like informally said thank you to some of the names we mentioned there. And just in case we missed anybody's names, if you're out there, you felt that we missed your name, it's not intentional. And we really sincerely thank all our guests and all the people that contributed to where we are today.
And thank you to the home circles and families that lost their time. That lost the women in their family for a couple hours.
Like every week, 2-3 hours Zoom calls.
The dinners that were burned.
Those dinners that were burnt.
And also just the people in the community who was kind of like rooting for us behind the scenes. I remember when we were about to launch, someone threw out a challenge to us. I think it was Reverend Livingston.
And we're going to have him on in season 2.
That's right. And for me, and this is just to emphasize the importance of goal setting. We were about to launch, and some of our social media platforms were, going and so on, but hadn't really been picked up yet. And he challenged us and said, get to this many subscribers before
100, I won't forget.
And that was like a few days before we were going to do that.
Like 2.5 days before we were going to launch.
And he threw out that challenge to us. We said, right, okay. So we started. And then we we're at 61, keep going. And we half an hour before, we're like, oh, we need 10 more. I think maybe we were just 3 off by the time we launched, and then it jumped. And I kind of thought the power of goal setting. When you aim for something and you get behind it and you channel your energy. So I think, if you're walking away with lessons, I think that's one of those. Set yourself a goal, so that you have a plan that you're working towards, and then at least you know when you've got somewhere and what else you need to do to get there.
True.
Exactly.
And just because you ladies had mentioned just now in terms of thanking supporters here and abroad, we just want you to know that some comments that people might have shared, for example, in lessons from lockdown, there was so much feedback. We will be trying within our break to put those up in perhaps creative formats on our social media platforms, because we feel that it's important that when people take the time to engage, that we just don't throw it away, and so that people feel that they're involved, and so we're trying to do something with that.
And we do have some recordings as well from persons who engage with the Black Lives
Matter
or Black debate.
That wasn't aired in the episode. That's fine. So we're going to wrap up very quickly, and we're just going to talk a few, just maybe a mention in terms of some of the things that are coming up in season 2. And so I know in season 2, Raquel alluded to it, we're going to have Livingston on, Dr. Livingston, and perhaps that will be on people of African descent, because the decade continues. We're perhaps going to look at, maybe creating that space where we can become included in terms of becoming more employable, and how do we get our people
on the corporate
ladder?
Bring in some HR professionals.
Yes. We're also going to speak to the dynamic between the Caribbean and African community here in Northern Ireland. That's something that should be interesting.
And of course we have things around the calendar, like Women's Month,
exactly,
Africa Week,
yes,
Caribbean,
exactly,
things like that.
Exactly.
I have to say this year we didn't quite do culture night maybe next year.
Absolutely. So there's a lot you can look forward to, guys, and I know that we're probably as well hoping to go on location. If you know,
to a place near you.
Provided that restrictions are where we hope they would be by then. And so we're going to go on a break. This is our break season. We're back in the new year, but we're coming back with a very special Christmas episode, and you gotta look forward to that. So guys, we're gonna have to say goodbye. We're gonna have to say a big thank you again and again and again.
Big thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Tell a friend.
And Natasha is the guru on the social media handles. Yes,
please contact us on our social media handles. We're at UKUnMute on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all major listening platforms.
And so from all of us at UKUnMute, we say thank you. Raising the volume.
That's right.
So my initial response is that clearly this person needs to be educated. Clearly, this person needs an opportunity to fully understand what it is we're talking about and why it is that we are saying, all lives matter, including Black lives. And that's what's missing.
Well, Raquel, just to follow on to what you're saying. Sorry. Oh, is it gone?
Yes, it's done.
Thank you.
Violent against men than women. So to you, Angela, what's your view?
Okay.
So I guess that's going to kill the physical recording, but at least you still got the voices. I don't necessarily need to. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So just rap.
So, no, carry on the conversation, because for the audio at least you can still.
So how will we put you in the rest of the discussion?
It just means that I'm just not in it.
Let's just wrap. Let's just wrap. Or when we meet next week for whatever, if you want to take your last 2 weeks, no, because we're not gonna have the same clothes on. It's okay.
Right.
Just wrap it up.
So, but then we're eliminating part 3 and 4, 5.
It's going to look odd.
I've just had to leave, but I still have Raquel and Angela here.
Self-white. You might self-identify, and yes, I know this self-identification thing has a lot of traction in a lot of spheres, but unfortunately not where race is concerned. You might self-identify as white or as Northern Irish, but unfortunately the world out there sees you as Black.
I think one thing that always stands out for me when you watch Jordan performing is just the pure joy that you see in his face. And it doesn't really matter what the topic is, but you can always see that connection, that authenticity, like this is mine, I'm feeling this, I'm actually enjoying what I'm doing.
I said buy one, and one time at my workplace, back like, she's so rude. And somebody talked to me on the phone, right? I finished the conversation. I was like, okay, no problem. Click. Then I start calling to the office. You did not say goodbye properly. And I was like, what? Then the next time I got it, I was like, bye.
Bye again.
And then I get bye.
That's my sister-in-law. Bye, 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 bye.
In our house, we have a scene where we always laugh.
This is so funny.
Bye now. Bye.
Okay, bye, 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 bye. Bye.
You better, Tasha, please say that on here. Let me dance a lot. Please say the bye, 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 bye. So we have to say it. Listen, I swear we're gonna get thrown out of Northern Ireland. This is not funny.
Oh my
Hey, we're gonna get thrown out, yeah?
Alright.
Okay. Right.
It's a mess. Bloopers.
You know what's funny, ladies?
Okay.
Okay, so let's.
You're
recording.
You should just use it as it is, I'm telling you.
I know. I mean, that's probably it right there.
No, I just got your bye. So which is good.
Right. Let's try this
Put it
right
at the
there.
end. Bye, 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 bye.
See how this flow.
Press back in.
Okay, wait, let me just
Yeah, get her
Okay.
I didn't know my tissue.
It's busy from the film piece.
Oh, that's a good one, Angela. That's a good song right
The
there.
first time it happened to me, I thought it was a one-off. I was like, no, everybody says bye like that, like 10 times.
They do, they do.
Why did you say bye 10 times?
I mean, you could tell the
Yes.
Caribbean and the African people who listen to that and pick it up already. Why nobody has ever picked it up? It's ridiculous, right?
Say goodbye.
Thanks, Rita.
And I just think
I'm already
we
hanging
is
up,
a
and I'm
good
still
one.
hearing blah, 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 blah.
And I have to say, I have a cousin.
And you know the funny thing, if you say bye again after that, another series of
Yes,
Exactly, yes.
I'm like,
You just have to go quiet.
you just have to
All of
say
them won't stop.
Okay, bye already.
I have a cousin in Birmingham. She's the complete opposite. As soon as you say, gonna have to go now. You don't even get to say goodbye. It's like,
That's probably me, love. I'm like, but that's
I
me.
like it. Oh, dear. Listen, when I say bye, it's bye. Bye.
okay, are we ready?
Yes. You go. Can you serious?